to speak about from burnout to restored. And guarding your health, strengthening your leadership and ministry. Anybody here have experienced burnout? Yes? Was it fun? No, it's not fun, isn't it? And the good news is that we can be restored. And I'm going to start with a passage from the Word of God. And do I have to turn this on or something? The green. It's not working. If you can just... Okay, there you go. Okay, thank you. So in John 14, verse 27, can I have somebody read it out loud, please?
Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives, do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let it be afraid.
Amen. So the peace that Jesus promises us is not what the world is promising. So when Jesus say peace, what comes to your mind? What event in the Bible comes to your mind right now? Peace. The storm. So what did Jesus do? He said, peace, be still. And immediately the wind stopped. And that's the kind of peace that Jesus is promising us. And if you were there with the prayer ministries workshop, you know, God's word is creative, meaning to say that what He says, it can happen, it will happen, right? What we have to do is have faith in His word. So this is promise for everybody who is willing to obey, who is willing to believe in Him. The question now, I want to talk about mental health. So what is mental health? This is a concept that refers to a human individual's emotional and psychological well-being. Okay? Now, mental health balance. By the way, was that clear? So it's a concept that refers to our individual emotional and psychological well-being. And we're going to go through some more information to understand it more. So mental health balance. Everybody here agree that we have to be balanced, right? What happens if we're not balanced? You fall apart. Even when you're walking, what happens if you have imbalance as you walk? You have the risk of falling. And for our mental health too, there has to be balance. So mental health is the balance between all aspects of life, and that includes the social, physical, spiritual, and emotional aspects. It impacts how we manage our surroundings, how we make our choices in our lives, and mental health is an integral part of our overall health. So without mental health, we cannot be balanced in our holistic health. So, U.S. Surgeon General, his name is David Satcher. He was former U.S. Surgeon General. He said, there is no health without mental health. Do you agree? And many times, when we have imbalance in our mental health, we cannot cope with our surroundings, the situation in our surroundings, right? Now, this is very important for us to remember. This is what Ellen White wrote. She wrote that sickness of the mind prevails everywhere. And this is she wrote this in 1885. How long ago is that? Can somebody help me? 1885. 100 plus years ago, yeah? And she said 9/10 of the disease or the diseases from which men suffer have their foundation where? Yes, in the mind. 9 out of 10 diseases come from the mind. Now, you know, it's interesting because I remember I was going through a material, and I read a research study done by Dr. Bruce Lipton. Have you heard that name? Bruce Lipton. So he's an American cell biologist, and he is known for his work on beliefs and consciousness and its effect on our biology. So what we think affects our inner workings, our cells. And when I was reading, it was pretty interesting. It's pretty amazing what he does. He's connected with the work of epigenetics. So meaning to say it's more above the genetics or genes. And I read there, he said 90% of diseases comes from stress. I said, wait, I remember Ellen White said something similar. He said 90% of the diseases comes from stress, and less than 1% is from genes, genetics. And I said, wow, it's amazing that Ellen White wrote more than 100 years ago what science is actually finding right now. Now, what are the things that influence our mental health? In a study done by Glenn MacDonald and Kate O'Hara, they found that there are 10 elements of mental health. And they divided it into 2 based on its protective factors and risk factors. So there are 5 protective factors and 5 actually risk factors for our mental health. So the things that are protective are, what is it? So, environmental quality, self-esteem, emotional processing, self-management, and social skills. So these 5 things are protective for our mental health. However, there are 5 risk factors, which is social exclusion. So how does it look like? What does social exclusion look like? Isolation, right? Being isolated from people. Stress, emotional negligence. So when you have some emotional things going on inside you and you are being neglected, this is a risk factor that influences our mental health. Emotional abuse and also environmental deprivation. So those who live in an environment that is not safe can be a risk factor of developing mental health issue. Now, of all these 10 things, I want to concentrate on stress. Is that okay? Let's talk about stress and what it is in the context of burnout, being burnt out. According to the Center of Addiction and Mental Health, burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged what? Stress. And please note these words, these 2 words, excessive and prolonged. Because did you know that stress can be beneficial? It depends, right? What kind of stress? But the point there is prolonged stress. But if it's short-lived, it's okay. Because, for example, if there is a bear coming, charging towards you, you need the stress response. Either you fight the bear. Who wants to fight a bear? Do we have, I see one hand. Okay, brother, take a video, please. If one day a bear comes charging, we want to see it. So either you fight the bear or you flight, you run away from the bear. And it requires a stress response. Okay, so then you'll have that cortisol, the stress hormone will rise, and then your heart rate goes faster, you breathe faster, you run. But it's supposed to go back into a state of relaxation. That's the healthy stress. Flight or fright. Yeah, fight or flight. Now the problem is when there is excessive and prolonged stress. So, like I said, healthy stress is designed only to last until the threat has passed on, right? And the body will go back to its baseline of relaxation. Now, when there's prolonged stress, so there is what's called a low-grade inflammation. Why? Because basically your stress response is activated always. Imagine being in a state of stress all the time. And what does that do to our body? Ooh, it brings so much burden on the organs because they're supposed to be coming back to that relaxation state. However, you're always in anxious state. And also there is inability to relax. And it can lead to even depression. And low-grade inflammation can cause so many troubles. It can even lead to autoimmune disease. Okay? Because of what? Stress. Now, 7 factors contributing to workplace burnout. Now, I want to talk about workplace, and then we'll bring it in a way we can also apply this in our ministry. Okay? So the first factor that contributes to burnout is person-job fit. We're going to talk about it one by one very quickly. Until what time do I have? Do anybody know? Does anybody know? 5? Huh? 5:30. Okay. Oh, 5:15. All right, 44 minutes. Thank you. The second factor that contributes to burnout is workload, control, reward, community, fairness, and values. Let's talk about person-job fit. Okay? Now, Christian Maslach and her colleagues, they pioneered research on burnout. And they created a framework to understand what burnout is. They focus on the potential match or mismatch between the worker and their work environment. So if the match is good, then the risk for burnout is low. However, if there's a significant mismatch, then the risk of burnout increases. And that's just logical, isn't it? It's just logical. Because if you match your work, your desire in your work, then the risk for burnout is going to be low. However, if you dread going to work, I tell myself, I remember when I was working in the hospital as a nurse, I remember I have to stop myself because, taking care of patients, these are lives that you have responsibility of making sure that nothing happens to them. Basically, that you do not allow them to die, right? Those who are nurses here will understand. And I remember before I would dread going to work because of the stress. But then I tell myself, listen, you still have to get the job done. So the job itself is already very stressful. So being intentional in saying no, you have to do the job. If you dread, that's double whammy. You're already dreading, that's stress, and the work itself is stressful. So we have a choice to make. To dread or to say, you know what? Leave the consequences to God. Okay. Now, the second factor contributing to burnout is workload. Excessive workload over time is attributed to burnout. And again, this is just logical because when your workload is excessive, meaning to say what? It's too much. There's no balance, yeah? So then, of course, you have to put more effort and sometimes you have to put more energy and you're already depleted of that energy. It's tiring, and this can contribute to burnout. What else? Doing too much in too little time with few resources leads to overstretching. Imagine you have to do lots of tasks, and yet the resources are not there. Oh, you want the task to be done, but you can't. Over time, if it keeps if it keeps happening, then this can lead to burnout. What else? Mismatch may occur even if the workload is reasonable, but the skills, interests, or resources for the work are not sufficient. And again, even, the workload is okay, but you don't have the skills and you don't even have interest. I think if you're not interested in the work, then again, you're going to dread going to work. That's why love what you do is important. Loving what you do is very important. What else? This leads to a depletion of energy and motivation, causing work efficiency and quality to drop. And these things are just logical. Now your energy is depleted, your motivation also is depleted, and the quality of work and your efficiency drops. And then, what happens? There will be inability to keep up. And what's worse, trying to work harder actually worsens this situation rather than improving it. So you try to just say, you know what, I'm just going to keep moving on even though I have no more energy. I have no more motivation. Does that fix anything? It worsens even the situation. All right, let's go now to control. When there is too little influence, so you have to do a work, but you have very little say in your work. That's basically what it means. Too little influence or too much responsibility in the work, a control crisis may be experienced because then someone may feel that they're not in control. Okay? They want to make changes, but they don't have influence. And there's too many responsibilities on their hands. And when a person is forced, that's the key word there. When a person is forced to do things in a way they do not believe in, so contrary to what they believe in, yet they are forced to do the things that they don't believe in, their motivation is impacted, reasonably, understandably, resulting in a lack of trust and respect and a threat to their dignity. And now, their dignity, who they are, who they believe in, is threatened. And there will be a lack of trust and respect. And nobody wants to work in an environment where there is lack of trust and respect. Who likes to be disrespected? Nobody. Now, on the other hand, if too much responsibility is given, it may result in a lack of confidence, skills, and resources to fulfill it, which leads to overwhelming insecurity. And it's very important for us to feel secure in what we do. Because again, you like to have some control, right? Like, okay, this task has been given to me. Okay, I have the skills, I have the resources to actually accomplish the task. However, if those are lacking, then this can be a contributor to burnout. Next is reward. Now, whenever someone invests their work into something, they want something to come out of it. Okay, it could be money, but the desired and needed reward is often on other levels. What are those other levels? What are the examples of that? So, examples of rewards that are more valuable than money are the satisfaction of having done something good and well. If you did something good and well, it's nice you feel satisfied, right? Okay, I've accomplished my task. So that's a better reward than money. Another reward, knowing that what was done has made an impact. So if you go out there, do ministry, outreach, health ministry, and then you have impacted someone's life, it feels good. And that itself is a reward. And being proud of what was accomplished and receiving recognition and appreciation from others. Those are other rewards other than money. Now, feeling devalued can be experienced if there is a lack of reward. So maybe you did something good, something well, but nobody's noticing. No one noticed. And sometimes it can lead us to feel that we are devalued, where you're not valued enough. Okay, let's move to the next factor, which is community. So positive connections with others are needed for people to thrive, because God has made us as people who thrive with social connections. Do you agree? Yes? And that's why there are famous sayings like, no man is an island. What does that mean? Yeah, work together. You need other people for support, right? For encouragement. You need others. Okay? Now, people function best in a community with people they like and respect, where support, understanding, comfort, happiness, and humor are shared generously. And so you love your company, basically. On the other hand, isolation creates distance or chronic unresolved conflict, which triggers feelings of anger, resentment, and hostility that are destructive to community. I'm hesitating to give this example, but there are people out there who commit crimes against other people because they feel angry. They feel resentment because they perceive that they have been isolated from society. Did you know that it's happening? Especially with our young people. Okay? All right, we have to move on. The next factor is fairness. So people need respect, self-worth, and dignity. This is just very clear. Fairness communicates and confirms the above needs. So if there is fairness in a work environment, ministry environment, it means that the person receiving the fairness also receive respect and also dignity. Their dignity is honored, right? And self-worth as well. However, look at this. Cheating, corruption, manipulation, and abuse are upsetting and causes fear, conflict, and distancing from colleagues and the workplace. Because when we are true to principles, and then we see that, hang on, this is wrong. There's something wrong here. There's manipulation. There's abuse. And so it can cause conflict. And when there's conflict, it may cause us, I'm just generalizing, okay? Us to distance ourselves from colleagues who are actually doing the manipulation, for example, right? Abuse, because you want to stand on principle. And over time, this can create burnout. Now, when we or other people are treated unfairly, then we do not perceive the organization or the individuals as reliable and trustworthy, and we distance ourselves emotionally. So we become detached. And so again, it's interesting. People say, whoever I talk to, and I say, how's work? Sometimes they'll say, yeah, work is good, but, there's a but. It's tiring. Sometimes I feel this, I feel that. And my manager or my boss has not been fair to me. And so they suffer emotionally, but they have to go to work. And again, over time, this can cause burnout. And the last factor is values. So inconsistency, conflicting values, and discrepancy between claimed values and actual practice place tension within organizations and among individuals. Let me explain it a little bit further. So, for example, out there in the public, the company or organization or individuals say that, they have a slogan, care for others. Abuse is not tolerated. However, within the organization or with that individual who's saying out there, abuse is not tolerated, is actually abusive. Yeah? So, there is a discrepancy between claimed values and actual practice. And this can place tension, especially if you want to stay true to principles. Mismatch in values may lead to considerable stress and alienation. Again, if there is a mismatch, now it can cause stress and isolation. The perception of benevolence and integrity in all aspects of operations is fundamental to positive loyalty and identification. So, if there is benevolence, there's integrity in all aspects of operations within an organization, within your workplace, it's fundamental. What does fundamental mean? It's like, before you build a house, there has to be foundation. So fundamental is like foundational to what? Positive loyalty and identification. So the person will say, "Oh yeah, I work for that place." They are not they don't shy away from saying, "Oh yeah, I'm connected to that ministry," for example. "I'm connected. Oh yeah, that's my church." Yes, that's my church, for example. All right. So far, does this make sense? Yeah, okay, praise God. All right, what are symptoms of burnout? And headaches, someone said that, okay. Well, yes, all right. So, tired, you see there? Being tired. And you wonder to yourself, why am I tired? I slept 7 hours and I wake up tired. Okay? Disappointed with people. You're just disappointed. Hopeless. You wake up, you don't feel like you want to get up, actually. I just want to lie in bed. No energy. Trapped. Have you been trapped anywhere, like in an elevator, for example? I hope it never happens to me. Well, actually it did. One time, about 30 minutes, I remember. We were 13th floor in Singapore. And I was scared. And trapped. I cannot go anywhere. So that feeling like you're trapped cannot go anywhere. You feel helpless and then depressed. Somebody said weak or fatigued, physically weak. And you notice, why am I so sickly? I get sick so much. You feel worthless, like a failure. I'm a failure. I've failed my family. I've failed everybody. And you have difficulty in sleeping. And I've had it. I've had it. No more. So these are some symptoms, a few symptoms of burnout. Now I want to do a very quick exercise. You have those small notebook inside your bags. Can you pull them out for me, please? Just take it out. The small notebook, it's inside your bag. Or if you have a paper and pen, let's do that very quickly, please. Yes? Francis here have paper. Okay, we're going to do a test. Can you see it's so small? I'm so sorry. But is it clear? Do you see up there? Okay, I'm going to read, okay? May you be suffering from burnout. When you think about your work overall, how often do you feel the following? Okay, so you see there's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that corresponds with the following. 0, never. 1, almost never. 2, rarely. 3, sometimes. 4, often. 5, very often. And 6, always. And there are items there, and I want you to put a number beside each item. So, for example, number 1, tired. 0, if you put 0, it means no, I'm never tired. I'm always energetic. Okay? Or 6, always. Or sometimes, then you put 3. Is that clear? Or do you want me to go through each item? No? It's so small, huh? Okay, the first one, it's tired. The second is disappointed with people. From 0 to 6, choose. Hopeless is 3. 4, item 4 is trapped. Item 5 is helpless. Item 6 is depressed. Item 7 is physically weak or sickly. You notice yourself getting the colds or flu every 2 months. You feel worthless or like a failure. Is it never, almost never, rarely, sometimes, often, very often, or always? You have difficulty sleeping. And you've said several times, in the past 3 weeks, I've had it. So if you're done, you're going to add all those numbers to get to a total score. And keep this for yourself, okay? If you want to discuss with those around you, that's fine. But if you want to just keep it to yourself, please do so. Okay, so you're going to tally. You're going to add all the numbers. And your total score indicates the following. If you score between 0 to 14, probably you don't have any burnout. If you score 15 to 24, danger signs of burnout. If you score 25 to 34, you are currently burnt out. If 35 to 44, there is very serious problem of burnout. And 45 or more requires immediate professional help. Okay? And I want to make a note here that symptoms of burnout may overlap with other physical or mental conditions. So if your score indicates burnout, other conditions may still need to be considered. Okay? Are you done? Or are you still thinking? Okay. We'll give you maybe 2 more minutes. If you're done, just, wave your hand. Okay, done. The result? Okay, so 0 to 14, if that's your total score, probably you don't have burnout. If it's 15 to 24, there are danger signs of burnout. If you score between 25 to 34, then you are experiencing burnout. If it is 35 and to 44, this is very serious problem of burnout. And if you score 45 or more, it requires immediate professional help. So take this home with you, pray about it, and again, if you do score 45 or more, please do seek immediate professional help. Okay, can we move on? We have 6 plus 15, 21 minutes. Yeah? Can I see you wave your hand if you're done? Okay, all right, let's move on to the next. Now this one here is titled Outcomes of Job-Related Stress on Seventh-day Adventist Pastors. Okay, so, and that's why, we have to be very mindful of our pastors because they too can experience burnout. And the work of a pastor it can be very taxing. So a research done by On Liang in 2009, so it's titled Clergy Stress, Seventh-day Adventist Pastors in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Taiwan. what they found is higher ministry demands would reduce pastors' personal well-being. Okay? It will reduce. However, there's a however there, higher levels of support, resources available to pastors would reduce the effects of ministry demands and the perception, that word, remember that, and the perception of the stressor events would more strongly correlate with the outcomes of the pastor's well-being than either the stressor events. Okay, what does that mean? So, the perception of the stressor event has more impact on the well-being than the stressor events itself. Does that make sense? The perception of the stressor is how you perceive it. That's right. Thank you. Yes. Come here, Francis. Come. Let's ask Francis as grief counselor. Okay? Okay. Say it.
Okay. No, I was just saying that most times it's your perception. He just said that in this world, in a whole, there are negative, positive, and neutral things that happen, the situation. And sometimes it's not the situation, it's your perception to the situation. Because 2 or 3 people could be at the scene of something, but yet they have all different perceptions, and you will never believe that they were there. So that brings us back, not taking away from Edith, to how strong your mental health is, because that just overruled your body, physical, social, and mentally, and how you relate to others. It's all, and that's why God said, take care of your mind.
Thank you, Francis. Yes. So, if we look at the stressor event, can somebody give me an event that is stressful? Car accident, right, okay. That can be very stressful. Failing an exam, oh, that too. Or preparing for an exam, it can be so stressful. Yes, my sister. Yes, if you're sick with cancer. Okay, stressful events. A death of a loved one. Yes. Childbirth. Those who have birthed a baby know it can be very stressful. Until now. Right? I mean, until now, from birth, before birth, after birth, and after the children are 20, 30, 40 plus years. Different problems. However, if we look at the stressor event with, for example, defeat, I'm done. If you look at it with defeat, negative feelings, or even pessimism, this will adversely affect our well-being. It means it will affect us negatively. In contrast, if we perceive the stressor events through a positive lens, okay? So think of a lens. So now you put it on with positive lens, with determination. This can actually help us with our well-being. So for example, like for me, if there's a big event coming up and I'm coordinating it, and it's during the weekend, I tell myself, you know what? Monday is coming. Yeah, I say that. Monday is coming. So I look forward to that day and basically saying, all these too shall pass. And also, I tell my sons when they're stressed with homeschool or homework, I said, you know what? The sun will still shine tomorrow. The world is still turning. The world is still turning. So it's that mindset. And then I also say, God promises this. And then you go back to His Word. And at the beginning, I put there what Jesus said, my peace I give to you. Not as the world give, do I give to you. Right? So claim His promises. Sing His promises. Sing His praises. All right, so we're going to go very fast. We have 16 minutes. Some ways to maintain positive mental health, especially in our ministry, because ministry can be stressful, right? Practice restored. Anybody know what this is? You know restored. Right? What is it? It's the 8 laws of health. And as I mentioned this morning, it's practical. It makes sense. Okay? It's appealing too. So practice restored. Sorry, I have to go fast. But I know that you're familiar with this. Now I want to, oh my, when I read this, I was so thankful. Because somehow, in a way, I was affected and rebuked. So Ellen White, in her letter 4, written in 1863, this is what she wrote. It is not safe nor pleasing to God to violate the laws of health and then ask Him to take care of our health and keep us from disease when we are living directly contrary to our prayers. It's funny because I remember this was years ago. You know, when before we ate sumptuous dessert, we asked God, God bless this dessert. Full of chocolate, high sugar, and what else? With preservatives, coloring. And we asked, and I said, bless this food, right? But here, counsel says it is not safe nor pleasing to God to violate the laws of health and then ask God to take care of our health and keep us from disease when we are living directly contrary to our prayers. And she said this, I saw that it was duty for everyone to have a care for his health, but especially should we turn our attention to our health and take time to devote to our health, that we may in a degree recover from the effects of overdoing and overtaxing the mind. Wow. The work God requires of us will not shut us away from caring for our health. So in our ministry, in our work, look at this. The work God requires of us will not shut us away from caring for our health. If we say, you know what, I have ministry tomorrow, I'm going to sleep at 1 a.m. because I have to finish this. And then you keep repeating it. But it says here, no. God doesn't require us to shut away from caring for our health, to do the work that He requires us to do. The more perfect our health, the more perfect will be our labor. Do you agree? When we have good health, who likes to work when you have a cold? Or when you have COVID? Nobody, right? But the more perfect our health, the more perfect will be our labor because we have the energy to do the labor. All right, let's move on. Keep things in perspective and ask for the Holy Spirit's guidance. These are some ways to maintain positive mental health. So what does this mean? Keep things in perspective. So one of the examples are don't overreact or become overwhelmed by problems. Keep things in perspective, meaning to say, try to see the big picture instead of focusing on the immediate difficulty. And remember what truly matters. For example, our faith. Our long-term outcomes, and also our values. So if something stressful, for example, happens at work or school, at home, at church, in ministry, keeping perspective means reminding ourselves that one mistake or one bad day doesn't define everything. It doesn't mean that, okay, you did a mistake, you're done. Yes, Francis?
And also, it's best to know your limits.
Yeah.
Know your strengths and your weaknesses. Know what you can do and what you cannot
Yes.
in a certain time. And that will reduce some stress.
Yes. So what Francis said, know your limitations. If you know that you don't have the knowledge, for example, to accomplish a task, it's okay to ask for help. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help. Because over time, if you keep stretching yourself, the more you're going to be stressed out. Okay? The next one, develop and sustain friendship. So don't just develop and abandon the friendship. You sustain it. How do you sustain a friendship or relationship? Communication, that's right. That's key. Communication, being there for one another. And here, listen to other people. You know, it's interesting that a lot of people would like to just react, not to listen. But maybe take some time to sit down and listen and better understand the other people. And this is very important. Respect others even if you disagree with them. Why is it important? For our mental health. Anybody? Yeah, we have to respect others' opinions because, you know the golden rule? Do unto others what you want others to do unto you. And even if you disagree, we can agree to disagree. Yes? Yeah. Yes, right. So it's very important. You can use, always have an open mind, right? And say, oh, okay, let me think about that. All right. And why is it, why it can help us with our mental health when we respect others? Because it will also protect us from being frustrated. No, I want you to see the way I see it. You know, there are 4 people in my home. And guess what? Everybody doesn't think the same. And I've come to realize, after marrying my dear husband, who I love very much, that I learn new things even after 20 years of marriage. And I have to make sure that, we have an agreement, understanding. If not, it's going to be very frustrating because you want that person to change, right? And of course, if you want that person to change ourselves first. Yeah? Okay. Listen to other people who say they feel distressed or upset. You know why? Because you want to be there with that person. And then, as you learn more about other people who are experiencing things that upset them, you might even come to the realization that, hey, it turns out other people experience the same thing that I experienced too, right? Have you ever come to that point where you say, wow, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. Other people are experiencing similar things. And that's why there's what's called support group. People who come together. And we have, by the way, I will take the time to promote our dementia support group. Did you know that? We have a virtual dementia support group. It has been very helpful. Okay, and the next one is when, Francis? March 29. Sunday, March 29. And the speaker is Dr. Blaney. She's Darlene Blaney. She's the director, Health Ministries Director for the Alberta Conference. And she's also the liaison and coordinator for Health Ministries for the Seventh-day Adventist Church of Canada, or our union. All right, let's go. The next one is ask for help if you feel distressed or upset. And again, like I said, it's okay to ask for help. Don't feel embarrassed. And of course, you will know the people you can trust. But first of all, ask the Holy Spirit. Ask God, God, I need to share this with somebody. Would you please show me who I can share this burden with? Okay? Ask the Lord. And His promises are true because He said, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall. And knock and the door shall be open. Okay. Next is remember and celebrate the positive things you like about yourself. So, what do you like about yourself? Oh, think about something that you like about yourself. Maybe I like that I smile a lot. Celebrate that. God has given you beautiful smile. Celebrate that. Or I like to just spend time in bed reading. Celebrate that. Okay? And this is also important. Take as much care of yourself as you do the people you care for. And this is very true when we have our dementia support group. We let them know, the caregivers especially, that they take good care of themselves. It's very important. If not, they will experience burnout. And lastly, make time for the positive things you enjoy. Maybe going to Florida during the winter time, if you have the money, right? If you have the funds, then perhaps go. Make time. Or maybe calling a friend and just say, something nice about them, and just say, just tell them that they have been on their mind and you just want to have a small chat with them, something. Make time for the positive things that you enjoy. All right. Before I close, I want to read this. This is from the Review and Herald, November 7, 1893. Our God is ever merciful, full of compassion, and reasonable in all his requirements. He does not require that we shall pursue a course of action that will result in the loss of our health or the enfeeblement or the weakening of our powers of mind. He would not have us work under a pressure and strain until exhaustion follows and prostration of the nerves. Did you catch that? If you feel like in your ministry or your work, you feel enfeebled, weakened, and you even lose sleep or even lose your health for ministry, then we are going in the wrong direction, because God is reasonable in all his requirements. The Lord has given us reason, meaning to say we can think logically, we can reason. And he expects that we shall exercise reason and act in harmony with the laws of life implanted within us, obeying them that we may have a well-balanced organization. Day follows day, and each day brings its responsibilities and duties. But the work of tomorrow must not be crowded when? Into today. And I've learned to do this by God's grace. When it's already my sleeping time, when I see it's 8:30, I say, okay, this can wait till tomorrow. Okay? So this is what Ellen White is saying. The work of tomorrow must not be crowded into today. And the workers in the cause of God should feel how sacred is its character, and they should prepare themselves for tomorrow's work by a judicious employment of their powers today. I remember, I forgot who said it, but tonight is preparation for tomorrow. Does that make sense? So when you prepare for tomorrow, basically, you have to prepare it beforehand. And so if you have a work for tomorrow, we have to employ judiciously. You need to wrap up by 5:15. Oh, yes. Okay. Is it showing up there? No. Okay. I have to wrap up by 5:15. Oh, boy. It's 5:14. Okay. Let me finish this then. Matthew 25, verse 23. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. enter into the joy of your Lord. And this is, my prayer for all of us, that Jesus will say, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been very faithful over a few things. And He's calling us to enter into the joy of your Lord, which is seeing souls being saved. That's what He wants us to do. And that's why we're here. This is why we're doing ministry. This is why we're doing the work. Because the ultimate goal is to bring souls for God's kingdom. And if we take good care of our health, we are taking care of the things that is very important to God, because He wants us to enjoy good health. Is that correct? And He has given us the provision. He has given us all the information, the loss of health. He even gives us His promise that He will be with us. And if we are faithful to do the things that He requires us, take care of our health, and make sure that, that we remember His promises, then He said, well done. He'll say, well done, good and faithful servant.